discussed or act upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Belvidere Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Star Ledger and Express Times and submitted to Town Clerk, Town of Belvidere, January 7th, 2019. Please rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Blount?
Here.
Mrs. Butina?
Here.
Dr. Zephyr?
Here.
Mr. LeVar?
Here.
Mr. Lucas?
Here.
Mr. Matlock?
Here.
Mr. McInerney?
Here.
Mr. Mitchell?
Here.
Mrs. Pell? Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mrs. Stefan?
Here.
Mrs. Williams?
We've reached the point in our agenda for our first public participation. Do we have any comments or questions from the public this evening?
I have a question. I was just reading over
Could you,
this.
I'm sorry, could you identify yourself, please?
Yes, hi. My name is Bradley Jordan. I'm a resident of Belvedere for the past 3 years.
Thank you.
My son was just enrolled this year.
Okay.
My main focus is the before and after school care, and I was just reading through that on this, and I didn't really quite see that. Are you guys talking about that this evening?
We actually are, other than me giving a report, we're not, there was just a meeting, and there still is a meeting going on, if you wanted to go check it out down.
Is that not this meeting?
What's that? This
No.
is the regular board meeting. The actual Family Workforce Connection meeting, they're down in room 18 in the elementary school.
Okay.
And I know for a fact, at least as of 10 minutes ago, they were still there answering all questions, so.
Oh, okay. Wrong meeting.
So, if you want to go ask them, or if there's something you need to know, I might be able to help you, but the people from Family Workforce Connection are actually there to answer all questions.
Okay, and what room number was that?
18?
18. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Sorry,
You're
what's
welcome.
your name?
That's okay. Have a good night. Any other questions from the public? Okay.
Eric, do you want to just help him down? Yeah.
Thank you, Eric. Correspondence,
Mr. McInerney, what would you like me to read?
if you don't mind.
Okay. I have one letter. I am writing to advise that I will be resigning from the Belvedere Board of Education effective September 26, 2019. My resignation comes with many mixed emotions. My wife Sylvia and I will be moving to Monmouth County. I have had the distinction of serving on the B.O.E. for the past 15 years. The Belvedere School District, like so many other districts throughout the state, has its share of challenges and areas for growth. Fortunately, the challenges for the district are far outweighed by the numerous positive attributes that exist within the district. This is also true of the sending districts that are part of our cluster. While the district still has much work ahead, I am confident that the board and the administrative team are committed and well prepared for these challenges. Moving forward, if I can help in any capacity, please do not hesitate to let me know. I would be remiss by not thanking current and past board members for their service. I believe that giving back to your community and volunteerism, especially in a small town like Belvedere, is critically important. I also need to thank our administrative team and district staff. The level of professionalism, commitment, caring, and compassion is self-evident and quite noteworthy. Throughout the years, the Belvedere School District has produced a number of highly accomplished graduates, including physicians, authors, educators, and leaders in business and government, just to name a few. As our school tagline states, celebrating our past and empowering our future, I could not be prouder to be an alumnus. Finally, my thanks to the board for your confidence in electing me the board president. It has been an honor serving alongside of each of you. I leave with the writings of Francis. Start by doing what is necessary, then do which is possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. All of my best wishes for much continued success. Sincerely, Sean McInerney, President of the Belvedere Board of Education, and Class of 1977.
That's shot. Thank you. Any other correspondence? No. Superintendent's report.
I'll start with commenting on the previously read letter. 2 comments. If you know Shelley, she claims she has an Italian background, but clearly she can't help it. I do thought she might. That's true.
That'll be noted in your evaluation.
I was going to ask about that.
I just want to thank you, Sean, personally. I've been here, this is my 10th year, so 10 of you, 15 years on the board, and I feel like I've always had a great relationship, and I've worked for your guidance and leadership on a lot of different levels, from when I was principal to now as superintendent. And you will be missed, not just here at the meetings, but we certainly keep in contact, and we don't always just talk about school, we talk about other things too. So I appreciate all that you've done for me in my career, and you've done a great job serving the community, and I'm very proud of your work.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, I appreciate that.
Just
I just wanted to say
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
that, it's been a learning, experience for me as well. You know, learning professionally, learning as a board member, things I've learned here that I've been able to bring back, to Midland. It's been very, very, rewarding, so, thank you.
I just have a couple of quick comments, and then Mr. Bartow and I are just going to talk a little bit about the freshman sports. Mr. Blum had asked for some feasibility study. We put together something I think fits that. Is Mr. Jordan, who was here looking for the family workforce meeting. They were meeting this evening with the parents. I just spoke with Chris Carabinus that was coming. They will have the program up and running for Tuesday, so October 1st, which was they probably will start Monday, I would think. And there were some concerns about some of the pricing, I know, that's going around. My understanding is that they're very, very willing to work with the residents, and if there's issues, that they're going to discuss all of that on an individual basis rather than kind of in mass. So they have done an excellent job, I think, of getting the program up and ready. We got a temporary CO this afternoon for 30 days, and then by October 25th, we should have a more permanent one, but they came in and inspected today. So we're up and running with that. I know that was a tough time for a lot of parents and a lot of the families in town, and we think the resolution is a good one, at least at this point. We are having a half a day on Monday, early dismissal, early dismissal to talk. We're going to talk to the staff for a few minutes about CUSAC, the CUSAC process, and then ultimately we're going to spend some time looking at our curriculum and where we are with that. So actually looking forward to that. And a couple other quick things. We have submitted a policy wellness check. I know Mr. Smith always loves his policy. We should be getting that back shortly just to see where we are of the work we've done over the last few years, just to check up on that. And I will say that on the agenda, we will table number 4 for the time being, if that's okay with everybody. And without further ado, let's talk freshman sports. Mr. Bartow, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
It's his first real presentation in front of the board, so Kevin's going to
I came with gifts too, with the lifetime.
We were
event
happy
pass,
to see
so,
you.
I was trying to butter you up a little bit.
Just as a quick background, at the last meeting, I don't know if you want to swing this way. It's hard because we're sort of in the middle of.
Everything that's on there is
We
in
have
that
it.
package.
Mr. Bowman had brought up just the feasibility study of freshman sports, and obviously it's a topic that we've discussed a couple of times around budgets over the last few years. So I talked to Mr. Bartow right after that meeting and said there's a couple things we should probably look at. Number one, the schools that are within both our conference that we play a lot and geographical location, using really Sussex County as a geographical location. We don't play all the Sussex County teams just because of the different conferences. And he'll go through all this, but then I said, how many sports do they offer? How many back and forths do we have? And then we had a suggestion from a parent to go out and do a little bit of a survey with our current 8th graders. We do recognize that it's September of 8th grade year, so that may not be the best indicator of what they're going to want to do when they get here next year as freshmen if they come here, especially some of the sports that are in the spring. But I think Mr. Bartow did a good job of gathering that information. So, Mr. Bartow, you want to?
So first I'll start on this first page with our base Skyland Conference. We're in the Mountain Division. We have South Hunterdon, Gill St. Bernard's in some sports, Rutgers Prep in some sports, Hope Hancock's not in ours, Manville is in ours. They're probably the most similar to us number-wise, and then Boundbrook as well. So that's our conference. And then also in the Skyland Conference are teams like Del Val, Voorhees, North Hunterdon, Peaburg, Ridge. They're all in the Skyland Conference. So schools like North Warren, Hackettstown, they're in the NJAC. But those bottom schools where their numbers are a little bit more similar to us, they're in our conference. So if you go to the second page, I just did a quick breakdown on our fall sports currently. We have 382 students enrolled at Belvedere currently, and we have 196 fall athletes. So we have 51% of the student population participating in athletics, which is a pretty great number. Moving to the next one. So I went in this week and met with all of the 8th graders and tried to ask them to fill it out as accurately as possible. But again, what we're doing in September may not be the same as what we're going to end up doing in June. So 17 of the students out of the 102 responses said they were not going to come to Belvedere. There's numerous numerous reasons why. 16 were maybes and not sure, and 69 students were 100% yes. So for future numbers, that 69 and 16 for the yes and the maybes, those are what I included in the results. And then our breakdown of districts, Hope is 20, White is 28, Harmony was 29, and Belvedere 25. And then I have some graphs here. We'll go over the numbers on the next page, but that's just kind of the breakdown of what everyone's going to play. Most of the people, the majority, I don't know, around half usually don't play sports, but that's kind of similar to the number I gave you before. And then it all breaks down. So if you go to the next page, here's the numbers. So in 8th grade, we're anticipating 9 field hockey players, 14 boys soccer players, 14 girls soccer players, 6 cheerleaders, 2 boys cross country, 1 girls cross country, 7 football players, 11 boys basketball, 11 girls basketball, 2 wrestlers, 9 swimmers, 15 baseball players, 17 softball players, 10 track and field, and 1 golfer. So freshman feasibility. So the sports that Belvedere's offered in the past that have freshmen were boys and girls soccer, football, boys and girls basketball, and baseball and softball. So I highlighted those numbers. So if you take a look at those numbers, we have 14 boys soccer players coming in. So in theory, we could have a freshman team. But if you look at the freshman, sophomore, and junior class, so next year's sophomore, junior, senior class, we have about 28 participants. So a soccer team has 11 kids. A high numbers, you're trying to have 16 or 17 guys on a roster. Between 6 and 7 bench players is ideal. So with that number, you'd have 11 players, 3 bench players at both JV and varsity, and with injuries, and this is not a guaranteed number. And then you'd have 14 freshmen, which is enough for a freshman level, but not necessarily for JV and varsity. And same with girls. So girls is 22. If you take that freshman, sophomore, and junior number, that is exactly 11 and 11, no injuries, nothing. And then basketball, that's only a team of 5, so that's relatively easy, and we do have planned for boys and girls freshman basketball this year. And then baseball and softball, 15 is probably one of the highest numbers I've seen for baseball, which is awesome. But if you look at the other numbers, we got 20, usually 9 and 9 with a EH or a DH, you're looking at 10. And then both games are played at the same time, and pitchers, and it's just, softball's a little different because you can usually use 1 pitcher throughout a game. So 17, again, is a great number. And then you have 36 for freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, which is a healthy number. So, again, you're looking very similarly to last year's numbers. And then I broke it down by schools with these charts. Girls soccer has 4 freshmen out of the 20 responses I get, and they're all Group 4 schools. Voorhees, I believe, is a Group 3 in North Plainfield. Ridge, North Hunterdon, Voorhees, and North Plainfield are the only ones that offer freshman girls soccer. Boys soccer is a little bit more, about half, and then football is about half, but again, you're looking at Peaburg, Warren Hills, Ridge, Voorhees, North Hunterdon, all the giant schools. So none of the schools that are similar to us have that option. And then going to winter. Winter's a little bit easier because, again, basketball is a 5-man thing. So 16 of the 20 have boys basketball, and one of those 4 that doesn't count is Mount St. Mary's, which is an all-girls school, so they kind of skew the numbers. But Bound Brook, South Hunterdon, and Manville, all schools that are very similar to us numbers-wise, does not have a freshman program. And then girls basketball is a little lighter. Mount St. Mary's, Del Val, Hackettstown, Kittatinny, Voorhees, North Hunterdon, Peaburg, and Ridge all have freshman programs. And then in the spring, freshman is Del Val, Hackettstown, Voorhees, North Hunterdon, Peaburg, and Ridge. Again, all the same suspects. And then freshman softball, North Warren, Hackettstown, Voorhees, North Hunterdon, and Peaburg. And last year when we had a freshman softball season, we played 5 of those schools. 4 of those schools we played twice, so we had a 9-game schedule. And then I have some things from last year's season on what happened. So this season so far, boys JV soccer has been canceled 3 times alone in the month of September, and girls JV soccer has been canceled 9 times in the month of September alone. So we're trying to fill that out. We already picked up 3 or 4 games for October. I'm going to try to find a couple more, but 4 of the 6 schools that we play in our conference don't have JV girls soccer games. So it's tough, and especially when those cancellations happen morning of.
Brad, do you want to hold questions to the end or take them as we go along?
Whatever's better for you.
I'm just curious
Yeah.
as to, with the cancellations, how many games were they actually able to play, the girls' team?
Off the that is a number that
Can
I
you
did not
ballpark it?
generate. 3 or 4 maybe.
That's
Not a
JV.
lot, not a lot. That's JV. Varsity's played
Yeah.
every slated game. I think they're gonna have 7 or 8 games by the end of this week at least, because the 101 Sussex seeding is tomorrow. So they have between 7 and 10 they've played. All the varsity sports, but JV girls soccer seems to be the tough one right now.
One of the things that Brad shot me an email today, which I think was interesting, was the breakdown of when he's finding out about the cancellations. But I think he said 4 of the 9 were canceled the day of.
Yeah. And then
3 of the 9 were within 2 to 3 days, and only 2 we knew going into the season. So it's not as even if, you know, and I think Brad's doing a nice job trying to get some games for the future with some other schools, but it would have been nice if they gave us more than that day's notice. My guess would be they knew way before the morning of the match that they weren't going to be able to field the team.
Yeah.
But that is what it is, unfortunately. So at least he's trying to get more games so that there is some competition, because the last thing you want to do is practice for 70 days and play 5 games.
Do we field an inquiry, or could we field an inquiry to your counterparts, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days prior? Just, hey, we want to confirm that we're still
Yeah.
on for this?
We reach out a week in advance.
You
and
do?
confirm.
Oh, you're already
And they
doing that?
confirm, and then
And then there's still
it's
on?
just, it's, because sports, you know, it's injuries, it's kids being sick, it's who I'm gonna bring up to varsity that day, and who I'm
Right.
gonna send back.
There's a lot of
down.
variables.
Yeah, it's a lot of variables. And the other problem is, our conference games are Tuesdays and Thursdays, so if we cancel a conference game, I can't reach out to the same schools in our conference, because they're already playing during that day.
Right.
So our only open days are like the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, when we don't have independent games. But October is gonna be better, because we're trying to pack October full to catch up from September. So we reach out, like Pingree, we're playing Peaburg twice, we're playing Warren Hills twice, maybe even 3 times, so we're getting the games, it's just not ideal. And then boys, oh, sorry, go for it.
One thing, I don't, when we talk about feasibility of freshman sports,
Yeah,
it was never about the willingness of our players to play the sport,
Yeah.
show up and sign up. The issue is schools,
Yeah.
and we drive a pretty far distance to play some pretty, you know, fairly big schools.
Yeah.
And that's in my mind, is it really worth it? Because I know I've taken kids to games where they just got crushed, and I don't think they're having fun. And I know, yeah, it doesn't matter who, you know, you're working hard to fill games, but what are you filling these games with? So it's not a question of us, it's a matter of schools that we typically play aren't having teams.
well, I have a couple more numbers, just to your point. So boys basketball, that was good, we only canceled 3 out of our 15 scheduled games last year, had 12 total games. Girls basketball canceled 7 out of their 15 games, so they only played 8. That's almost half. And then softball, we had 9 games, and we played 4 schools twice and 1 school once. And they were Peaburg, Hackettstown, North Warren, North Hunterdon, and Newton, all relatively close. So, yeah, it really depends on the sport, it depends on the number, it depends on a lot of things. So I think, yeah, my professional opinion, it's a case basis, but that's your determination to make. So I have this all, there's way more data and numbers. If you'd like, I can forward that to you. This was just an easier way to present it, so.
Other questions from the board?
Well, what's your opinion?
On which piece?
Or
Yeah,
recommendation, or maybe a recommendation?
Recommendation.
Okay, so for this year, I think we stay the course. We have boys and girls freshmen already slated, and there's a chance that maybe, depending on the numbers, for a small softball schedule. But other than that, I think we're good, and then it looks like next year's probably going to be very similar. But that's the most important, so. These kids playing JV, I know people are worried about freshmen not having a chance to play. They do get a solid amount of time, and it's not like we're missing out because we don't have those levels, because we're not the only ones. And it's a trend. I mean, you're looking at like schools like Voorhees don't even have JV sports for certain schools, or for certain sections, you know? It's just it's a trend that isn't going away, because sports 51% of our students participate in athletics, which is awesome. And I bet if I threw that extracurricular piece in there, you're looking at almost 100% of the kids doing something outside of this one pick. So if you have any other questions, shoot me an email.
I think it's important information, obviously, as the board starts to prepare, like ramp up to next year's budget considerations, obviously. Brian?
How much is spent on these, how much money are we talking about? Ballpark.
For the freshman sports
Yeah,
alone?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, probably somewhere between 15 and 20,000 for freshman basketball, both boys and girls. You know, half that for softball. I mean, if they end up not having any games, we don't have transportation costs. So
Mm.
they're not playing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the cost of the,
Entire cost.
you know, the coach.
I think one of the bigger concerns is now we're seeing the impact on the JV level too. That's, I think, where sometimes I look at it and go, I've never been one to shy back from I think we should have been in the NJAC conference a long time ago. But I might be trying to look at them, at least so we know, we know where freshman sports are, I think, are trending overall. But when we're losing, I was shocked when Brad said to me, I knew we had missed some JV girls games, but when he said 9, today's September 25th, I was like,
Have they played
I was
any?
flabbergasted that we missed that many. So I'm wondering if it's something that if we did switch to a different conference where, again, I use the NJAC as they're mostly Sussex and part of Morris County, where maybe they do at least have that solid JV program, so we know for sure we're gonna get them, and then those one-off freshmen that we know, like the basketballs for sure, and softball this year, that we can maintain.
That's a little bit of it's not an easy lift, though, the switch conference.
It's not an easy lift, no, it's not an easy lift. And the Skylands Conference has made it relatively clear that they're not interested in us leaving, but.
One piece that I didn't realize until right now, those winter and spring sports, when I gave you that breakdown, that is last year's number. So I don't currently have the current freshmen's softball number, so that latter half was based on last year.
I think we always get the kids, that's not
Yeah.
an issue, we're
Yeah.
talking about having
There's other
something.
The
variables.
competition.
Yeah.
Do we incur costs then that when we get a cancellation the day of the game? I know, like, we're paying the coach for the season regardless, and that's fixed.
Yeah.
But are there any other costs that we have to pay even though
No,
they're not
because,
playing?
the buses are canceled and then the.
And the refs don't
and the
have to be,
ref-
they don't need to be
no,
paid?
no.
No. Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Chris, other items?
That's all I have.
That's all you have? Can we get a motion on, any questions for Chris? before we
Yeah,
move
I
on?
do have a
Oh, go ahead,
question.
sorry.
Chris and I met this past week and talked about the football field, the press box. And again, one of my concerns, and we talked about this, is that I don't understand how that could have been overlooked. I mean, it's a situation that's deteriorated over probably a 10-year period. And of course, it raises the concerns, are we maintaining everything else? That was one of the questions that we had. I do have a question, that's a comment, I have a question about it as well. I was told by an architect that as far as that press box is concerned, that if we had local volunteer contractors, even if they're licensed contractors, that they cannot do that work. Is that true?
I think nowadays it is.
Um,
It was built by volunteers,
Right.
but I don't think nowadays.
Yeah, our insurance company has advised against that, and any contractors that we have to meet certain stipulations to do work here.
Of course, what happens, then you get involved with the prevailing wage business, and then you're looking at the $50,000 to $100,000, because, where the volunteers could probably
And
do
that
it
comes in right
at
at
$10,000,
$2,000
$12,000 for
prevailing wage.
materials, now you're looking at prevailing wage.
Mm-hmm.
I just wondered if that was correct, okay?
Anything else?
No.
Anything else?
Nope.
On personnel, can we get a motion on items 1 through 4?
Motion, four is
Four is
four
tabled.
called?
Oh, I'm sorry, 4 is tabled, correct, thank you. 1 through 3,
Motion.
Second.
Brian, Mary Ann, discussion? No discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Blum?
Yes.
Mrs. Pepino?
Yes.
Dr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. LeBoer?
Yes.
Mr. Lucas?
Yes.
Mr. Metlar?
Yes.
Mr. McInerney?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Stefani?
Yes.
Under education, and this was revised, can we get a motion on items 5 through 8A?
Motion. Second.
Ryan and Mary Ann, discussion?
I'll just, if I think it's appropriate, Chris went to the preschool expansion meeting today, I know it's on the agenda. And he reported out a little bit in the curriculum this evening. His impression from, it's a big regional meeting, from the conversation that was taking place is that we are in a good spot, the way we're running our preschool. And we do have they will be paying again next year based on projection rather than actuals. So we do have the opportunity again to really take a good look at our numbers, and Chris will be getting information out as early as the middle of next month, middle of October, for registration for the following year, so maybe we can really get a good sense of how many students we have in the program. We currently have 28 students, and we have to keep 2 seats available for early intervention. And the other interesting thing that Chris found out is they made it clear that it is only for residents of the town, period.
Because we had the inquiries on,
Yeah.
you.
We've actually had some people from different townships. In fact, I actually talked to a colleague today from a different district that's having the same issue because their program is going to state funded preschool. So,
You can see why people would be interested.
Sure.
But, with
Yeah.
state money comes state
yeah,
control.
state control.
Yeah.
So he was very positive. It was a very positive experience. Felt that we were in good shape and continue. It sounds like at least for the foreseeable future, the state will be funding that program.
Good. Well, it's a win for the town, a win for the district and our families. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? On business, and this was revised, so can we get a motion on 9 through 16A?
Motion. Second.
Ryan and Mary Ann, discussion. No comment? It is quiet.
I think we're all reading the last one.
We're good? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I will abstain on 15.
Continuing business?
The only thing worth mentioning is I did put in my weekly information notes. I put the mission and vision statements that we worked on as a strategic planning committee. I hope everybody has a chance to take a look at that, and then either in October or November, I will go through the whole strategic plan as we came up with it. We're just trying to, and it's my fault with scheduling, we're trying to just finalize a couple of our goals, but I think we're happy to present what we came up with that. So if you saw the new mission, new vision statement, and any comments, or if you liked it or didn't like it, let us know.
Any takeaways from tonight's curriculum meeting you highlighted?
Yeah, sure. We talked a lot about the QSAC process and ultimately where our curriculum is. Pre-K to 8, we feel we're in excellent shape with our curriculum. We have worked on that as a cluster for the last X amount of years, predating my tenure here as an administrator. We know for a fact that White Township uses it, and they passed QSAC last year. And Harmony, when we did our plan, it was used, and it was commented through the county that it was excellent curriculum. So we're good with that. With the high school curriculum, we're working with a new program called Rubicon Atlas, which Mr. Lazare did a nice presentation in the meeting, and talking about how it's going to get uploaded and what our timelines on that are. And then we just finalized by talking about our ultimate curriculum plan and getting that 5-year plan in place and following it, and when we revise and when we rewrite and things of that nature. Thought it was a good, lively meeting. We all seem to agree for once.
Wow. Write that down, Sean. The other thing I wanted to mention, I know we've talked about before, is the need maybe for board training or strategic planning. The board composition is obviously going to change with the reorg in January. Shelley, thanks for helping me with getting that information, by the way. So There is a there are 4 seats, 1 unexpired and 3 regular 3-year terms. That'll be on the ballot for the November election, which means that the board composition will change by at least 2 board members come January. So I guess it might be good maybe be thinking about a retreat or something like that after the reorg, sometime after the reorg. Okay.
Yeah.
New business?
On continuing.
Oh, sorry.
I hope I didn't miss it, is there a superintendent's evaluation?
Thank you.
All right.
So it's been completed. I took all the information from our exec session. Chris and I we didn't meet in person, we did it over the telephone several times, and it's been completed, and it just needs signatures, which we're gonna take care of this evening.
Okay.
So we're done, which is important for CUSAC. So thanks for asking, Brian.
Okay.
New business? Any?
Should probably discuss with the seat that is open as of tomorrow morning, or as of midnight tonight, where the board wants to go. Number 1, replacing Sean as the president. And secondly, do we want to interview, or with only really 2 meetings after October, wait till the reorganization that takes place in January? So it's probably worth having a discussion.
I would think for filling, I would say wait, because it usually took us a couple months to fill the rest of the seat,
Right.
so it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to rush that. Might as well let someone get elected.
Yeah.
I think the policy states that a vacancy must be filled within 65 days.
You can put it out there, but then you're asking someone to volunteer for possibly 30 days. You could see who volunteers. but-
And then, I don't know if we just have the vice president take over the presidential duties, or somebody else steps up. I don't know.
How's the pay?
Great,
Excellent.
it's great, wait till you see what you get.
They're gonna double my salary with you.
Right.
Anything else? New business?
Yes, under new business, I met with Mr. Bartow this past week, and we talked about, of course, the press box issues and other things that were going on, but I talked with him and said that I thought that one of the things that he should be looking at, of course, is grant writing, especially for athletics, with the need that we have on the fields, with the press box need. I mean, there's a number of things. And if you go out and look at any of the fields, they all need work, really. And so I'm hoping that, I know there's money available, it's just how to get that, but it's like, I don't know is there something we can do to, within the school as far as the grant writing, to have a committee to work at that? I mean, I know we've had some people that have had seminars on that type of thing. But I just think it's something that we should really try and pursue. And it's a tough area. I mean, we want to concentrate on academics, but we do have, 50% of our students are involved in athletics, so it's a situation where I think it would be worth our while to do that, to look at the grants.
So, can I give my opinion?
Absolutely.
So, part of my duties in my other job is, there's a foundation that reports to me. And it's staffed by 2 full-time Midland staff and a part-time admin staff. And it takes, we expend some money to operate that foundation, but the money that we're able to generate is far outseeds what our expenses are. To ask the existing staff to do it, it's probably not going to be done or done well, and this is no reflection on existing staff, because the problem is like when you're tasked with your primary responsibilities, where do you find that extra time, to identify grant possibilities? Sometimes there are mandatory bidders conferences to attend in advance of submitting a grant application, and then writing a grant that kind of hits all those major points that the funder's looking for. So I think if the board is going to consider doing something like this, they may have to invest some money on the front end in terms of a part-time person or maybe a full-time person. That'll be up to the board to decide, but, and then hold that person accountable in terms of, identifying grants, writing for grants, and evaluating the outcomes. But that would be my recommendation.
I'm not sure, but I would imagine that there are other organizations that provide those services as well.
You could probably contract it out. It wouldn't necessarily have to be a district employee. What I wouldn't do is try to bring that person on as a consultant, Because if you're directing the activities of that person, they're no longer a consultant, and you could run into an potential IRS issues in terms of calling the person a consultant when they really are an employee. But if you wanted to find a grant writing agency that was just going to do it on a fee basis, I'm sure there are organizations out there, or individuals out there that will do it. But there are some big, there's some big foundations that like to give just exclusively to public education, and maybe part of the approach is to try to zero in on some of those as well.
Sean, there's also funding rounds. I mean, if you had a complete grant application tomorrow and submitted and it was fantastic, you might not see the money for another year.
Sure.
So it's not like it's gonna be a quick fix either.
No, some of them are 3 years, stretched over through. There's a grant right now that we're pursuing, and it's significant, the amount of money, if we're awarded the grant. But it's a 3-year, the payout is over a 3-year period. So you're right, you're absolutely right. And then the other thing, and this kind of dovetails with some of the foundation discussion that we had, that takes time to organize too, an internal person or persons to organize. But there are schools that run, for example, a golf outing. And I think the district could probably, there's enough interest here, I think, especially with alumni and business people, that I'm sure it would generate a positive income. It wouldn't be a loser for the district. So, you could tie grant writing to other potential fundraising events, is what I'm suggesting.
Did anybody want to mention that the enrollment committee was actually looking into this foundation?
We were.
No, I
We
don't
did.
remember.
Yeah, in fact, I'm glad you brought it up, Aaron, 'cause I did share some information. I just shared it with Bob. Chris Carabinas did reach back out to the person he was talking to about the Maine School District, and she gave us some ideas, and she would be willing to come to do some consulting for us, go back to that term, and she's gonna give us a price and what that would cost and what that would look like. But that's more on the educational foundation side, helping to get that up and running, as she did in Bethlehem, and then going from there. So glad you brought that back up.
And we had talked, Chris, too, about, close to us, Bangor School District has a foundation that has provided a lot of funds for them as well. I think maybe they could be someone to reach out to as well.
That's a good idea. Anything else under new business?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, under new business, to personally thank you for your leadership as board president and also your service to the community. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Chris, are we still on board with the JV field, of getting that grass out of the infield? Okay.
We'll worry about that comes maybe.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because it's getting pretty bad. Somebody's going to get hurt out there.
Yep. It's noted, ready to go.
Okay.
Any other new business? Public participation, we reached the point in our agenda for our second public participation. Yes, Kyle, how are you?
Well, how are you?
Good to see you.
Try to keep it short for everybody. Here to inquire as to whether or not the Board of Education is aware of all of the donations and service discounts that the Dalrymple Bus Company has provided to the Belvedere School District over the last 4 or 5 years.
So I guess I'll let Shelley or Chris, if you guys want to respond to that.
But I think Kyle wants to tell you you want to talk about what you've donated, or?
No, nothing specific. I'm just asking if the board is aware of any of that information whatsoever.
No? It sounds like a no.
No? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I do, any donation should be, as you've made donations, have you received an acknowledgement?
No.
No? Okay.
The only type of acknowledgement that would have been received is, unfortunately, I don't think Mr. Carabinas is here, but with either Mr. Carabinas or Mr. Staples saying, thank you, I appreciate the help for whatever it may be. And a lot of the items or good examples are like the senior lunch program, where students go down for a few hours and then come back. A lot of times that's a donated trip. rather than billing at the minimum contracted rate, which is a significant savings for the district. And the reason that I bring that up is because there seems to be some, I think, confusion with the business office or the board as to the billing aspects for athletic trips and field trips for this upcoming school year. So before we get into that later on this week, I wanted to at least have a feel for what the board was or was not aware of, but clearly no one seems to be aware of the extras that come into this for the community and for the students that have the information for, for whatever reasons, hasn't been disseminated.
Do you have that list compiled, Kyle?
It would take me quite some time to get one. I can certainly do that if the board would like to see that. I'm sure that the district office also has that information.
I'm not sure how we would have that information.
Well, for example, if for school year 2018-2019, if a contracted trip rate was, for instance, $242.50 for 4 hours, if we went out for 30 minutes and then gave the district a bill for $0 or say for $50, it would seem that because it's a legal document, being a contract, it'd be pretty easy to tell that $0 meant we gave it, not to mention we would have said that to Mr. Carabinas or Mr. Staples, and then Mr. Bartow coming up.
I think
I'll review all the bills to find every case that's happened in 18-19. I can make the board aware.
and would you like also then for Kyle to submit like his list of services that were either discounted or where there was no charge?
But I'm just, based on what he's saying, I'm thinking that I can review the bills and there's supposed to be something that says $0 or it was
If it's discounted,
under a contracted
is it
amount.
noted that it was discounted from what the charge should have been?
I'd have to look back at every invoice, so I don't want to say yes for sure without double checking.
I'm just thinking to make it easier for Shelley's office, to identify if a bill was, if it was discounted off what the regular charge should have been, and if it's not noted, that would be a lot of work, I'm assuming on your.
What the athletic directors, that's part of their job, is they review the transportation bills each month.
Mhm.
So I don't know if they have any
Okay.
record of that already. I'm not sure, Brad's just getting in the
Right.
scope of it.
So may I suggest going forward, if the contract price is $250, you show contract price $250, courtesy discount $200, balance due $50.
We can consider that.
Yeah,
That way, it's there.
yeah.
We can certainly consider that in the event there are discounts in the future. Or donations, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So that's talking about moving forward, but just in terms of the past billing, maybe a good starting point would be just to look over the past, you decide, Kyle, what you think is manageable or doable, but if you can look back perhaps over the last year or two and identify what those donated or discounted services were, that would be helpful.
Yeah, we can do that, that's
Okay.
not a problem. We're actually looking back at this point at least 7 years.
Okay.
And I don't expect the business office to have time to go back through
No.
all of that, so we'll
Right.
certainly provide as much as we can to make sure everybody is on the same page.
Right.
Thank you for your discount.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Appreciate
You're
it.
I
very
was just
welcome.
gonna make the same statement, Bob, that, certainly, you understand, some of the pressures within the district. You sat on this side of the table for a while. So, anything that anybody does that helps, advance the mission of the school or helps our students and families, obviously that's really appreciated. So, thank you.
And that is something that we're looking to continue to do.
Thank you.
And to work with the board and the business office for that as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Any other, comments or questions from the public this evening? Yes, sir.
Yes, Brad Dalrymple, Dalrymple Transportation. I'd like to know if I'm on the bills list to be paid this month, because earlier in the last board meeting you had, I wasn't approved for any payments. I'd like to know if I have any payments coming. for the billing we've done this year already, transportation?
The answer is yes. The last board meeting was not a board meeting where the board pays bills. It's done at our second board meeting of the month. As you were notified today, you have 3 payments that are on the bill list. They are for invoices number 1754, 1760, and 1765. There's one invoice, number 1760. The net 30 for that invoice is at this point past due. It would have been due September 12th, possibly September 11th with the days in the month with the 30 days to be due. That bill is in the amount of $485. There's another invoice that you've supplied to the district, invoice number 1762. The billing was submitted for 1819 billing errors. I don't agree with the billing errors, and that is not a pending payment at this time.
May I ask when you were gonna get a hold of us to discuss the discrepancy on that?
I did notify Kyle today from his appalling email that was sent to the district yesterday.
Well, the bottom line is, and nothing against anybody here, but I work for a district, I'm providing a pretty good service, I think. If there's any problems with our service, please speak up and let us know. But the bottom line is, I have to have money to pay my bills. If there's money in your budget that's for this transportation, I'd like to have it. You know,
I absolutely agree. We don't have any
bill-
problem paying our vendors. There was no issue that there was anything that was late. All of a sudden, I received an email that I was shocked that came from a company that we have had such a relationship with. The payments due were $485 and a bill for $2,138 that you submitted for your own internal audits of errors that were made in 1819. I don't agree that the district owes them. It can be further discussed in detail, but we don't generally just take bills that were decided to say, hey, we already paid it and now somebody's deciding they want to charge something else. So no, that bill is not on a payment list. The other invoices that were sent with this email are not due yet. So the tone from the vendor was, I don't appreciate as a district that we will be treated that way.
I apologize.
Kyle can
I
easily call
apologize.
me at any time and say,
apologize if
hey,
you're-
Shell, I really need this check tomorrow, can you get me it? And there's no problem. So why this came
No,
about and why we
there's-
have this frustration,
there's a long
I'm not
history.
sure.
Unfortunately, there's a long history of Belvedere not paying on time.
Really.
I've worked, yes, in the past. You and I have had this discussion several
Brad,
times
I don't know if
ago.
you and I have ever talked.
Yes, we have with my wife, and I had a discussion with you a long time ago.
That you are not
You're
paid from
paying-
Belvedere.
I don't know where our bills go, but they disappear. Any other district I work for a few, I get paid on time. I submit my bills, the money's there. That's all
Well,
I'm
we're having
asking.
this issue of
I
a
have to pay my
$485
bills.
bill, I apologize.
I have to pay my bills. All I ask is to be paid. Well,
And-
you know, in a timely manner.
Mr. Smith may text you that he had a bill list this high of bills that we paid this September that he just had to sign, and they included those for you.
Can I ask a couple of questions here? Most
Please.
vendors have a net 30. You have a bill that's provided and you've got 30 days to pay. If we only pay our bills the second meeting of the month, that's our standard operating procedure, there may be some bills that are
Absolutely.
not paid in 30 days.
Absolutely happens,
Okay.
happens with all vendors. It's the way that our policy states that we pay our bills.
I
As
mean,
Kyle, as a previous board member, is well aware.
So, just to kind of, dial this back just slightly, what would you recommend we do, Shelley, moving forward at this point? They've raised the concern, obviously, there's a disagreement with, it sounds like there's a disagreement in the business office about what was being requested, so how do we best move this forward to
We
resolve?
have a meeting already set up for
You do?
Friday
Oh,
to
okay.
discuss it.
Okay.
I've already spoke with part of the finance committee to find out if they're acceptable to us paying their bills in between the months, to pay their bills exactly by their net 30.
Okay.
It's not a problem for us, it's just never been addressed as an issue until yesterday.
Well,
Possibly, Brad,
would,
over the last 10 years, we may have had a previous discussion that I do not recall, but nothing of recent.
Would
No,
net
not
15
recently.
be easier?
Would net 15 be easier?
Yeah, for the district.
the district generally pays bills at our second board meeting of the month. So things that are received at least a week and a half before that,
Let me
they come directly to the board office instead of through the athletic director, who then has to forward them to us. I mean, that stuff takes time.
Let me rephrase. By what day of the month would be the cutoff to make it to the bills list so that it's workable for the district?
I would say
with
generally if we
personnel?
get things, I mean, the board meeting dates fluctuate. They're usually somewhere between the 20th and the 28th or so of a month. If we had things by the 10th, maybe the 12th, there shouldn't be a problem with it getting on the board checklist specifically.
Okay.
Is that in the contract?
I believe if anything, the contract would say 30 days. I'd have to go back and look.
I mean, the billing, what date the billing should be received, on the 8th or the 10th of the month?
Whenever they submit a
No,
bill.
just that 30,
It's
whenever
in
they
that
send a
30, it's
bill.
whenever they submit it. If he submits it today for a random run they did today, it's 30 days.
Well, I think hopefully Friday works out good, because I think B&K's been a very good bus company. They step up last minute to take these runs on when other bus companies cancel.
We,
You know,
personally,
whatever happens,
we don't have an issue with B&K. We don't. And quite frankly, I don't know where this came from. I haven't had a chance to talk to Kyle. He tried calling me. But the email that I got, I was upset about. Kyle knows that. I sent an email.
well, people do get mad and they do things what
I
they're not
understand
supposed
that,
to
but there's
do.
also a level of a threat that doesn't need to be included in the email.
I didn't see the
When-
email,
When,
so.
I know you didn't, but on purpose, we were trying to resolve it between us.
Nor was I planning to bring it up in a public board meeting for their own reputation of not having to deal with this discussion in public.
Unfortunately, what you wrote to me said you were going to be reading the email to the board this evening.
I did not. My email specifically says, I will share your email with the board this evening to approve, I guess, payment. The board meaning the finance committee that I was going to speak with as they are here.
Unfortunately, it just said the board, so I had to assume it was the full board.
Well,
All
you're
right.
here. You saw
Well-
whether I addressed it or not publicly.
I would suggest, I mean, you have a meeting scheduled in 2 business days.
Yes, we do.
I think there's.
And I will apologize to the board what I said, but there is a point that I need money to pay my bills.
Well,
And it's
there's-
understandable. Everybody gets a paycheck in here, whatever day it may be, every 2 weeks, every week. I need my money. I'm giving you a service. I need to be paid, so I may pay my vendors. That's all I'm asking.
I think something, the point, that the question that Kyle made earlier was a good one, in that you, and it's not my place to tell you how to run your business, but perhaps if you can align your billing cycle, knowing that how bills get paid by the district, that may help with your concern about cash flow. So, and I'm confident that you guys meet on Friday and this will get resolved.
Yeah, I'm confident that it didn't have to be an issue.
Well, we'll resolve it.
See
and
Friday.
Everything will continue, and everything will be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else from the public this evening?
Sean, thank you for your service.
Thank you, thank you. And my thanks to all of you again. You know, each of you give a lot of your time, and not just here for board meetings, but committee meetings, a lot of things that can chew up a lot of time. Those of you who were on negotiations, I know you expended a lot of time on that, you know, a good outcome. You know, certainly, Brian, the work that you do in policy really adds a lot of value to the district. The work that's done in personnel as well. Really is just really good work, and you know, I just wish all of you continued success. So, thank you for allowing me to you know, lead this board. So, I guess with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
I get to do this.
Do it.
First time in 15 years. I should mention too, it's nice to see it turn out from the public. It's always, we've had some really good turnout from the public.